Welcome to the On Deck Circle podcast. I am one of your hosts, Nick Zaniboni. You can find me on Twitter at nzaniboni93. And today we're actually short our backwards hat friend, Jason. So it's just me and Dave tonight. And I actually have a surprise for Dave tonight. So Dave, come on in, my man.
Oh boy, you got a surprise for me?
I do. So
oh man, I'm so excited because I have a surprise for you.
I do the question. And since there's no Jason tonight, your question is going to be, it's more of a game show.
Is it like what I hate most about Jason?
It's not.
Damn.
It's something you do hate, though.
Is there a way that I can like talk shit about him since he's not here to defend himself?
Maybe later in the show.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that.
So I have in my hand my cell phone with 5 pictures of celebrities.
Oh my God, I'm not going to know any of them, am I?
The over-under is set at 1.5. Oh
no, I think that's a very fair number. I hope I can see it. Well, you might need to text them to me.
No, I think it should be all right.
Okay, worst case scenario, you're going to have to text them to me.
Number 1. Hold on, there we go.
Oh my God, is that Machine Gun Kelly?
That is Machine Gun Kelly. That's good.
Nice.
All right. Then you're going to get the next one. So you're already going to.
Oh, boy. So I've already cashed? Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
So that's his girlfriend, Megan Fox.
Oh, okay. I mean, I know of her,
He's
but
from, Need for Speed. Next, we've got this one. I don't know if you'll know this guy.
Oh, God. Yeah, no idea.
That's Tom Holland. He's currently Spider-Man. So, like, you've probably heard the name.
Oh, I thought is he a singer?
Nope, he's just an actor.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, then I guess I don't know who it is.
This next one is a singer.
Yeah, no idea.
Jack Harlow.
Okay, I guess that's who I thought the other guy was then.
Okay,
here we go. Coming down to the last one.
The last one. So I was told by my fiance that this is a layup.
Oh God. Oh God. I hope it's
a layup.
Chick. It was a hot chick.
It's not a chick.
Uh-oh.
He's dating a hot chick.
Oh, that's Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson, you got it.
I know him from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
So I hit the over.
You hit the over.
Oh, Nick. Oh my God. That is my favorite. That is my favorite one yet.
All right. We might have to bring that back.
That was good. Yeah. Oh, that was good. How many celebrities can I name?
I was sitting here waiting because you were late, and I said,
I know. I'm
such a dick. Of a question, and then I was just like, oh, I'm gonna find some celebrities.
I had some serious technical difficulties, but we powered through it, man, and I got here. So, all right, let's get down to business then, Nicholas. We've got Dynasty Court, and it's going to be a little different this week because we do not have Jason. So we're going to do our best here to go ahead and do this topic that you've chosen. I guess it's kind of like it's almost like a buy or sell on Freddy Peralta. Yep. So
and this was I even posed this before the injury.
Yes, and I think the injury actually makes it more interesting.
It does. It does.
From my perspective. So again, I'm going to argue this from a dynasty perspective. So again, I'm looking at like a 5 to 8 year window. So we're not talking redraft or whatnot. We're talking a dynasty window. I won last week. I'm actually undefeated, as it turns out. I know I'm 2-0. I like it. So I want to argue from the side of buying Freddy Peralta.
Okay.
So Jason's side would be selling Freddy Peralta. With that being said, we're still going to do this Dynasty Court. So what side do you want to hear from first? Opening statement for myself or for Jason?
Opening statement from Dave, please.
From Dave. Okay. So like I said, keep an eye on the timer. Do you see the live up on the top left?
Yep. You have a minute starting at 4:50 now. Go.
All right. So Freddy Peralta has been an absolute stud. If you look back last year in 144 innings, He pitched to a 2.81 ERA and a WHIP under 1 at 0.97. He had 195 strikeouts in those 144 innings. Just absolutely phenomenal. You could argue a top 5 pitcher in baseball, at least a top 10 arm in Dynasty. Kind of, had just an amazing season. And pitching is hard. Like, it's no surprise that I hate pitching because it's so volatile. If you can get an elite top end guy, it's hard to pass up on acquiring that.
Is that it?
That's it. I mean, I think my minute was up anyways.
Yeah. Okay. So now opening statement from Jason, or do you want your question? Okay.
No, opening statement from Jason.
That looks ridiculous.
It is a Tigers hat as well. I wish I had a Cubs, but so Tigers hat. I gotta throw it on. I'm a boy Jason here. All right, so minute goes right now. So from my perspective, that I hate pitching. I have a GIF of myself that specifies exactly how much I hate pitching, and so Freddy Peralta as a pitcher is pretty much an automatic sell on my part. So if I were to go back and look at a sell portion of things, I would say that prior to last year in his 144 innings, which isn't even like a ton. I mean, 144 is still, it's all right, but it's not like in the upper echelon of innings pitched. Prior to that, he didn't have more than 85 innings pitched in any given season. And it was the first time his ERA was under 4. Well, technically he had a 3.99 ERA in 2020, but that was basically the first season he had an ERA under 4. So there's not a huge track record there, and I'm super worried about injuries, which happened to all pitchers, but just happened to Freddy Peralta this last week when he went on the IL, and he's going to miss, I don't know how long, but he's going to be out for a while.
Perfect. All right.
Head off.
So can I address you as Jason?
Yes, please.
Okay. So right now I'm talking to Dave. Dave.
Oh, okay. Head off.
This is like in Mrs. Doubtfire when she keeps going to the bathroom and then coming back and forth.
My costume change is just this.
Yeah.
Just a quick hat.
All right. So
listen, let's not say anything to him, and let's see if he ends up watching this, because he'll definitely say something.
All right. So, Dave, you said he is.
I'm a buy, Freddy Peralta.
Buy. Thank you. Would you? I'm trying to think of how to word it. Hold on. This is going to be a would you rather.
Yep, I know. I knew where you're going.
Okay. My would you rather, which is someone I think we talked about maybe 2 shows ago. It was the Diamondback show. I feel like we talked about a bunch of Diamondback. Corbin Carroll.
Okay.
Or Freddy Peralta. I would like to say before this injury news, but it's hard to say that but since you are 4, they're very close within rankings.
I mean, okay, so I always lean hitter over pitcher.
Yep.
If just on its own face. Now, obviously, I would much rather have if there's a huge gap between the two of them, then just give me whoever I have ranked higher.
Yeah.
So you're asking basically if I was doing like a dynasty startup and I was on the clock at pick 50, let's say, like somewhere right in that mark, like would 50, I rather 55. Have Peralta or would I rather have Carroll?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting question, because the answer honestly depends. Because for me, if I'm doing a dynasty startup, I am always trying to win either in year 1 or at least in year 2. So that would kind of lean you towards Freddy Peralta because he's already an MLB talent. However, Corbin Carroll is almost certainly going to be up next season. Mm-hmm. So if I'm drafting right now, I'm not drafting for this year. I'm drafting for 2023 and beyond. I honestly have Peralta ranked 45th. Yep. And I've got Corbin Carroll 71st. So there's a little bit of a difference. There is a 25 spot difference. However, if I were to be drafting for 2023 and beyond, I think that Peralta's probably going to drop a little bit, and I think Carroll's going to continue to rise. So by the time next season starts, they might be pretty damn similar. Yep. And I'm going to take the hitter. I'm going to take Corbin Carroll, who I probably continue to be high man in the room on.
Okay. Jason? So, yes, Jason, our handsome host, Dave. Dave, can I talk to you for a second?
Yeah, what's up, man?
What's your pitching prime? 28 to 31?
I mean, I say pitching prime starts at like 29.
Okay, hat on. Jason. Sorry. Our esteemed colleague and somewhat of a boss, Dave, claims that pitching prime begins in about 29.
Yeah.
You're saying you would be selling Freddy Peralta. He's 26. So
he's 20. He's 25, but sure.
Okay. I see 26 on the thing I'm looking at, so I'm saying 26. But so he has 3 years until his quote unquote prime, and he's this good. So wouldn't you rather be buying into the prime than buying out of
it? Pitching is very different. And go ahead and mark my minute. Pitching is very different because pitching tends to get hurt. I don't know that Freddy Peralta is going to pitch again this season. I think that he's going to. The Brewers are probably going to be contenders, so they're going to want to bring him back if he can, even if they're getting, a few innings at a time, or even if they have to turn him into like a swing man or something. I mean, I don't know that that's going to happen, but they're going to want to get as much out of him as they can. I mean, I don't know that you can argue that he's actually as good as what we think he is. Like I said, prior to last season, he threw 85 innings or less his entire career. He has ERAs of 4.25, 5.29, and a whip of a 1.46 to go with that 5.29. I mean, the strikeouts have always been there, but the ratios, the peripherals have been hit or miss. I don't necessarily know that I don't necessarily think at all that he's the player we saw in 2021. I think he's closer to what we've seen this year, but probably a little bit better than this year, but definitely worse in 2021. I don't think that he is a top, 10 pitcher in baseball. I think we saw his outlier season last year. So yes, I'm glad that at age 25 that he has shown that he can be an ace. I just don't think that's who he's actually going to be.
All right. Closing argument, Dave?
Closing argument is this. Like I said, pitching is very hard to find. And when you're looking at an elite pitcher, I think that strikeouts are the one thing that you can rely on. Like, if somebody's got good ratios, that can hit, that can miss. But when a guy strikes people out at a high rate, that usually sticks around. I think that the injury to Peralta right now would actually be a good time when I like to buy pitching. I prefer to get guys who have already gotten hurt or who are already hurt if I don't think that there's a super high chance of it being a long-term recurring thing. So like a Chris Sale, I'm not interested in because Chris Sale is always hurt. Jacob deGrom, I'm not interested in because he's always hurt. Steven Strasburg, I'm not interested in because he's always hurt. But when you get a guy who is kind of, not a huge injury concern, I don't mind buying into them and hoping that it's a one-off.
Jason, I will give you an extra 4 seconds. Go.
Thank you. I need every bit of it. I haven't won one of these yet. Dave has beaten me every single time.
Your extra 4 seconds.
I know, but it's important that I point that out. So listen, this guy has got injury concern written all over him. He's just the kind of pitcher that looks like he exerts a lot of effort, and I just feel like he's going to continue to get injured. I don't know if it's going to be to the level of the guys that Dave had talked about with the Strasburgs and the deGroms and the Sales, but he's got one good season under his belt. Now, granted, it was an amazingly good season. It was, Cy Young-ish worthy, but I don't think we see that again. I think we see a guy, like I said, who is very similar to what we've seen this year, maybe a little bit better, very consistent on the strikeouts, but we don't know what we're going to get with the ratios. Now that the NL has the DH, you get rid of that free two batters. And I think that does make a slight difference. I used to upgrade pitching in the NL. Now I can't.
Okay. Fabulous. All right. First of all, the real winner here are the viewers, because that was fantastic. So
I'm a man of the people. I thank you. I'm a man of the people. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Truly. That was great.
Thank you. I argued both sides very well.
My mind is melted right now. So I'm going to go ahead.
Would you like to hear my real life answer? Well, I want you to come up with your decision.
After, yeah.
Okay, and then I'll tell you what I really think.
So
without getting into it.
Judge Zaniboni.
Judge Z.
Judge Z. I would be labeled a hypocrite if I told someone to buy Freddy Peralta, because I've recently sold Freddy Peralta.
Good man.
And I am on board with Jason. Yes, Jason. Which I think that's the side you want, because you want to give Jason a win.
Jason needs a win desperately. And the other way he's going to get it is if I literally give it to him. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I echo the same sentiment, right? I mean, I feel like my argument against was probably a stronger argument anyways. At least I was more passionate about it. But yes, I would sell Freddy Peralta. Unfortunately, I probably wouldn't sell him right now, because I think the injury is going to, scare people off of him, and you're not going to get as much as you would have like a month ago. But he was starting to turn it around, and I would have already sold him probably. And it doesn't matter if I'm in win now or not. I would have just sold him for other win now pieces or whatnot. And if I was obviously trying to rebuild, you would think that he'd be like a good rebuilding piece, kind of, because he's only 25.
Yeah.
But man, if I could flip him for Corbin Carroll, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I will take my chances on Corbin Carroll panning out. Then I'll take my chances on Freddy Peralta staying healthy and maintaining a outlier season.
All right. Beautiful.
That's just me, man. All right. Well, that was a little on the fun side, but we took up a whole bunch of time. So let's move on here. Let's talk about number one prospect in baseball getting called up, man. Adley Rutschman. He gets called up. I would say long awaited, just because it just feels like we've been waiting for him to get called up for a while. I think he could have been called up last season at some point. I think he could have debuted on opening day, theoretically. But, we finally seen him now. And, I mean, there's not a whole big sense in getting into his numbers, because he's only got 14 at-bats. So unless he's 14 for 14, who really cares, I guess. But he did get a triple for his first hit. Might be the only triple he gets all season. So that's interesting. But I think it makes a little more sense to talk about the numbers that he put up in the minor leagues before the call-up. So he played at 3 different levels as he was, working his way through. Played at high A, played at double A, but got the majority of his at-bats at triple A. And the numbers are different. I mean, if you combine the two, he had 25 at-bats, so just 7 games between A and double A. And then he had 12 games, 43 at-bats at triple A. So, again, more at triple A than the other two combined. But there were big differences in numbers. At triple A, which is what we'll focus on here, he was batting .233, so that's not super hot. But he had a .377 on-base percentage, and it still added up to a .819 OPS, which on a .233 batting average is pretty good. Power was there a little bit. He had 3 home runs. He had 6 strikeouts and 7 walks. So even at the AAA level, in that small of a sample size, he walked more than he struck out. And I think that that's huge for a guy like this who, in real life, he is a great bat, but you don't lose anything behind the plate. In Dynasty or in fantasy, we don't really care too much about that. Obviously, we want guys that are decent defenders because we don't want them to lose at bats.
Yeah.
But we technically don't care how elite they are behind the plate. We just want them to be serviceable. And especially this is a guy. I mean, for a catcher, I guess I'd honestly prefer that they could maybe slide over to first base. Like
But
that would be
catcher eligibility, I'm saying.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, Adalton Varsho is a prime example of what you'd really prefer. A guy who, if Carson Kelly could stay healthy, would only catch part-time, but you only really want him to catch enough to maintain eligibility. You don't necessarily care how much he plays back there, just so long as he has eligibility. And, he can sit there and play in the outfield and such. So Rutschman's going to stay behind the plate. I think he's, his defense is good enough. He's going to play a ton. It doesn't matter anymore if he's in the NL or AL because, like we said, there's a DH. So he's going to get his at-bats. And, he already was the number one dynasty catcher for me. And he gets called up. Nothing's going to change unless we see a Kelenic kind of a collapse where he just can't do anything at the plate. Fun fact, last week after we talked about Jared Kelenic, I turned around and traded for him in the league that I've been trying to trade for Jared Kelenic for months.
Congrats.
Thank you. So I'm hoping that pans out for me. What do you think about Adley getting called up, man?
So first of all, I've become in love with the videos of players being called up.
Yes, they are fun, aren't they?
They're so good. This one was fine. Like it wasn't the best one, but it's one that it's like just to see someone. This was after the J-Rod one. I told my fiance, I was like, I wish that I had something that like I've worked so hard for.
Her hand in marriage,
I guess, but like, that's not as hard as Adley Rutschman.
No, I don't want to know how you know how hard Adley Rutschman is, but anyways, Nick,
I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I'm not going to watch any Baltimore Orioles games for Adley Rutschman, but the Red Sox play them this week, so it'll be something to just watch out for. He's a guy that I'm never going to be able to get in Dynasty because people have brass hands when it comes to top prospects being called up.
I had Adley Rutschman in the same league I traded for Jared Kelenic.
Yeah.
And I traded him last season because as much as I hate pitching, I just had way too much offense in that league. And I really needed an ace. And so I'm curious if you can guess which starting pitcher that I traded straight up Adley Rutschman for this guy. It's going to be hard to guess, but I will say this. He's a guy that we've talked about. He's a guy we've talked about recently, and he's a guy that I've mentioned openly is one of my guys. I don't know that you'll necessarily get it, but after I say it, you'll go, oh, makes sense.
Can you tell me when it happened?
When I traded Rutschman?
Like, was it like before the season, mid-season? I need to charge my laptop.
Last year, it was.
I'm still here, Dave.
Okay, it was about mid-season last year, maybe about a third of the way through the season or so.
And was it straight up?
Mm-hmm. It was straight up, and it was actually a guy, just to give you an even bigger hint, it was a guy who was struggling a little bit that I felt pretty confident would rebound.
And has he rebounded?
Yes, not exactly to the level previously attained, but yes, he has rebounded. I'm still happy with the trade a year after the fact.
It's not Dylan Cease.
I wish it was Dylan Cease, but no, it was not Dylan Cease.
He's getting rocked by the Sox right now.
Is he?
Five in one inning so far. But is it that like type of player or no? Lower or higher?
Yeah, it's Dylan Cease. It's an ace, in my opinion.
Woodruff?
No, probably not quite that high. Luis Castillo.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, again, but that's my guy.
Yeah.
And so I made that trade right at the tail end of him sucking.
Yep.
And so I kind of think that's part of the reason why I got away with that trade. Like, I think if I'd have tried to make that trade before the season, I probably would have had to pay more.
Yeah.
And so I think I got a pretty decent deal, all things considered. I mean, my catching is decent in that league, and my offense is stupid good in that league. So I needed a pitcher, man. Another guy that used to be my guy, Nolan Gorman, he got called up to the Cardinals. So fun fact, the year that he was eligible in FYPD drafts, I don't remember what I traded, but I moved up to get pick 1-1, and I took Nolan Gorman first. Yeah, so I was really high on him. He kind of shit the bed a little bit, and for a little while there, luster kind of started to drop, and then all of a sudden, man, he has just been ridiculously good this year. I mean, God, man, if I go back and if we just take a look at what he did in the minors, so in AAA, he had 34 games, so like a quarter of the season, we'll say. He hit 308 with a 367 on base, an OPS over 1,000. He had 15 home runs. The strikeouts were still a bit of a concern. 50 Ks and 133 at bats. So, I mean that's a pretty high number. But man, when you're on pace to hit 60 dingers, I guess you take it. And he's been really good for St. Louis. Again, small sample size. We're only talking about 14 at bats, but he's batting 357, an on base percentage of 471. Yeah. He's actually, and this isn't going to last, but he's got only 2 strikeouts to 3 walks. So that's going to change. But I mean, he's been as advertised. I won him in Fab in TGFBI. Nice. So George Kirby 1 week and Nolan Gorman the next week. So I'm very excited. And once upon a time, like maybe 2 years ago, I think we would have been more excited to see a second baseman that has a ton of power, somebody that we can play at second base. But now second base is getting to be one of the stronger positions in baseball. So that's a little bit of a bummer for his value, if you will. But Nolan Gorman's a guy I'm excited about. What about you?
The Cardinals in general are just like a fun team to kind of like. The Pujols stuff is helpful just because they're getting a lot of pub on like the Sports Center, on the MLB networks.
Especially when he pitches in blowouts.
And when Yachty pitches. They're really fun right now.
I tell you what, I don't know that any team has had more Hall of Famers, more future Hall of Famers on the mound this season than the Cardinals. No. They've had Pujols, they've had Molina, and they've had Wainwright on the mound. They've had 3 Hall of Famers pitch in the last 2 weeks.
And no one else can say that.
Yeah, and exactly.
Gorman's going to be fun. He's going to be a great player for the next – he'll be like very good for the next like 10 years. He probably will never win like an MVP, but he's going to be like a great player that will probably be a fan favorite for like his dynasty owners for one, and definitely for Cardinals fans.
You know another thing that's really fun, Nick?
Yeah.
Down on the farm.
All right, Dave, when I sent you this name this week, did I stump you again? Ish?
Yeah, I was not 100% familiar with this.
Okay. So I'm getting better at this.
Yeah, man, and this is a fine prospect as well. So
yes.
Why don't you go ahead and run us through this here real quick?
All right, we're gonna go with Edwin Arroyo of the organization of the Seattle Mariners. He's in single A for the. Is that Modesto? How do you say
Modesto Nuts?
Modesto's Nuts.
Yeah, exactly. That's so good. Modesto's Nuts.
He was drafted in 2021 in the second round. And when I just found that out, I figured he was like a international guy. I mean, he is. He's from Puerto Rico, but he was drafted out of there. He's 18. This year, though, absolutely destroying the ball. In 149 at-bats, he's batting .309, 8 dongs, 32 RBI, 8 stolen bases, which – you're going to say it's single A, it doesn't matter. I don't care. It shows that he can still steal bases.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter.
His OBP is crazy at 385. Currently, 17-game hit streak.
Oh, boy.
And
see, I'm more impressed by that than anything else because if anything, that just tells me that he's been consistent.
Yes, he's been – yeah, he didn't just have like a hot week.
And that I will take with – much more behind it than saying hey, he's on pace for a 30-30 season.
Yes.
In low A, nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
But a 17-game hit streak, that I like to see.
Yes. Our
That I like to
league
see.
mate, Eric Cross, in his latest update, he was so going into this year, not ranked. Currently, 166.
How deep does it go though? Is it top 400?
I think it's 4, yeah.
Okay, so out of the top 400 into almost top 150.
Yeah, that's pretty
Huge
good.
jump.
That's a
Huge jump. Huge jump.
I'm just gonna actually so he profiles as a top of the order shortstop. He's not better than Marte, but like not
Marte's going to be at third base, so
yes,
completely irrelevant.
There's definitely going to be a spot, and I found this guy last year, Edwin Arroyo, from at MLIB Mariners, who's a great account to follow. These the Indians and this Mariners,
the Guardians.
Yes, thank you. Get us canceled.
Yeah, right. Jeez.
The Guardians have a guy on Twitter. I think it's like Tribe Prospects or something. He might need to switch that. Yeah. And this guy, great follows on Twitter. They go through everything for all these prospects, and he's someone that this guy covered all last year and then this year as well. Love him.
So last actual individual player that we're going to talk about here is another Cardinal that got called up, Matthew Liberatore, and he's a guy that we've talked about off and on here a little bit. I'm surprised that he's only 22 years old. Honestly, he just seems like a guy that's much older. I feel like he's been around for a while, and that's what happens, when a high school player gets drafted, because he got drafted in the 2018 season, so he's literally been around for a little bit. And he doesn't turn 23 until the off season. So he's gonna play this whole season at age 22. And he's the guy that's seen his stock drop a little bit. His 2021 wasn't super impressive. ERA over 4, whip 1.25, basically striking out, a guy in innings. So not bad numbers for AAA, but not exactly like elite prospect kind of stuff. And then so far in 2022, his time, down there, it was almost a repeat of what he did last year. ERA is a smidge better at 3.83, whips a smidge better at 1.2, and again, striking out basically a guy an inning, a little bit better, but about the same thing. So the numbers don't necessarily stand out and just blow you away, but they do kind of tell the story of maybe like a SP3, which is valuable. I mean, all of these guys that get called up don't all need to be aces in the rotation. Like, that's obviously not possible. You need SP3s and stuff like that as well. His one start in St. Louis didn't go so well, but it's one start. 4 2/3 innings, walked 2 guys, struck out 3, got hit around pretty good. So we'll see exactly what happens. I think they sent him back down, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. But we'll see exactly what happens. He's a guy that I'm interested in, but I'm not super high on him. Again, he's a pitcher, so you know how I feel about that. But what are you thinking as far as Liberatore?
I think SP3 generous. Great SP4
I know.
for you.
Yeah,
like he'll be very good as an SP4 for the next few years.
Until he gets hurt.
My philosophy has always been, if the Rays trade you, it's for a reason. And I just had to look up the trade itself. It is awful for the Rays.
Oh, really? Okay, let's hear it. Rays never get robbed.
No, sorry. No, I was incorrect.
I still want to hear the trade regardless.
Okay, so it was Jose Martinez, who was like a name in baseball for like a little, like he was like the OBP, like first base, like plug-in.
Yeah, he was okay.
And I read this as a Rosarena got traded from the Rays, but he got traded from the Cardinals to the Rays for Liberatore, which like isn't that bad. But
so roughly a Rosarena for Liberatore.
Yes. So it could be good. Like it's probably a wash. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably a wash.
Really even that good. Like he's fine, but he's not as good as I thought he was going to be.
yeah, he just had that really magical postseason, and
and it was cool.
so, oh yeah, no, it was awesome, and he's a good player. He's not, he's not the first outfielder on your team, probably. I mean, he better not be.
Shouldn't be.
But if he's your third outfielder, I think that's a great outfield.
Yeah.
He's probably more of a second outfielder. He's well-rounded, but not great anywhere. I mean, he's the kind of guy that I feel like probably was very overrated after that playoff run.
Yep.
And then I think he's going to just work his way to where all of a sudden he's going to start to become underrated because people are going to be like, oh, man, I thought he was like this guy, and he's not. And then they'll kind of like poo-poo him. And the next thing you know, it's like, well, but you know what?
He's like got a decent guy who's still good.
Yeah. He's got a decent average. He gets on base. Like, he hits some home runs, but not a lot. But he gets you some bags. And like, I mean, he's the guy I have in TGFBI. I think. Anyways, I think I have him in TGFBI. He's a well-rounded player, man. Last one I want to talk about, just because we've seen on this episode alone, Adley Rutschman gets called up. Nolan Gorman gets called up. Matthew Liberatore gets called up. We've just had George Kirby, and we've had Spencer Torkelson, Bobby Witt, Julio Rodriguez. We're getting a lot of prospects called up this season. And it almost is like, wait a minute, who the hell's left? So I want to take a minute, and I just want to kind of run through kind of, the top prospects in baseball, as of right now, and who we think we're going to see again. So who's the next big prospect or prospects to make their debut? And if I pull up the list right now, if I were to go through, I'll name some guys here that I think are going to make their debut at some point this season. And we're still very top heavy. I've got Riley Green of the Tigers. He's almost certain to debut this season. Would have made the opening day roster until he got hurt. We talked last week, I think it was, about Grayson Rodriguez. Yes. I think we see him this year. Adley Rutschman was number 1, by the way, who's already gotten called up. So number 4, Gabriel Moreno. Pretty sure we see him at some point this year. The first guy that we don't see is Anthony Volpe. I don't think we see him this season. Number 6 is CJ Abrams. We've already seen him. I think we'll probably see him again. Number 7, Francisco Alvarez, catcher of the Mets. I don't think we see him this year. Marco Luciano is 8th. I don't think we see him. Noelvi Marte is an interesting one. I don't think that we see him this year. It's not impossible, but I doubt it. Marcelo Mayer, we definitely don't see him. Daniel Espino, I don't think you see him either. But I think if you look at this list, that's the number 1 pitching prospect in baseball. And I've been saying for what have I been saying for a year and a half now, that this kid's going to be the number 1 pitching prospect in baseball around midseason this year. He's already there. And then Shane Baz, we've already seen him. Corbin Carroll, I doubt we see him this season. I would love to, because he's done nothing but say, hey, call me up. Hey, I just don't see them rushing him this season. Tristan Cassius, I think we see him at some point this year.
Soon.
Number 15 is Jack Leiter. I don't think we see him. Jason's boy, Brennan Davis. We probably see him later. Alec Thomas is 17th. We've already seen him. Nick Gonzalez is 18th of the Pirates. I imagine we see him later in the season. I think there's a good chance of that. Jordan Lawler, we definitely don't see. Henry Davis, we definitely don't see. Khalil Watson, we definitely don't see. And that gets us through the top 21 prospects.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even of the top 21, half of those guys we probably still see. We're getting a huge influx of guys. And if I were to work my way through, I'll name some more guys that I think we see in the top 50. I think we see O'Neal Cruz. I think we see Brett Beatty. We've already seen Kirby. We've already seen Gorman. Max Meyer. I think we see Max Meyer at some point. Yep. We've already seen Mackenzie Gore. We've already seen Nick Lodolo. We've already seen Matthew Liberatore. Bobby Miller is a guy that I think for the Dodgers, I think we probably see him. Josh Young, he probably would have made the opening day roster if he wasn't hurt. Luis Campuzano, we've already seen him for the Padres. Bryson Stott, we've already seen him. Royce Lewis, we've already seen him.
This is crazy.
I know, it's so many of these guys. Shea Langoliers, catcher for the A's. I think there's a decent chance we see him a little bit later in the season. Josh Lowe of the Rays, obviously, that's one. MJ Melendez, we've already seen. Edward Cabrera is the pitcher that I think we probably see later for the Marlins, and that gets us through the top 50. So we've seen a whole ton of high-end prospects already this season, and I think we are going to see a year that's unprecedented. And I don't think that it has anything to do necessarily with that collective bargaining agreement where they kind of change the rules. I think that we've just got a huge cluster of guys, and they're all kind of at that precipice where we're seeing a ton of them. I mean, if you think about what the top 10 list looked like last season, we've pretty much seen all of those guys. So if I go back right now to the 2021, the top 10 prospects, we've pretty much seen them all or are going to. So we've seen Rutschman, we've seen J-Rod, we've seen Witt, we've seen Torkelson, we've seen Abrams. We're about to see Green. We're about to see Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah,
those were the top 10 prospects a year ago. I mean, it's just that time of the year, man. So
baseball's in good hands, hopefully.
All right, Nick. So you are off next week. Is that correct?
Yep, I'm going across the pond.
All right, my man. So I will definitely
I'm
still
turning
be here.
29 tomorrow. I'm getting old.
So you're right in the prime if you're a pitcher. Well, happy 29th birthday. I hope you get a Celtics win. Wouldn't that be phenomenal?
I need it.
Celebrate with your $35 necklace.
Exactly.
Oh my God. You're wearing that tomorrow, right?
I wear it during every game. I wear it to work on game days.
Are you wearing it on the flight to London?
Probably not. Also, I just got off the COVID IL.
Nice.
Yeah, I recorded a podcast with COVID. I feel like I need, and I didn't know. It was crazy.
I'm going to talk to Joe and see if we can give you some hazard pay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's the least I can do for you, buddy. Well, listen, you enjoy your trip.
Thank you.
And next week, I'm sure Jason and I will have an educated podcast.
I would like you to do an impression of me during the next podcast.
Careful what you ask for. Okay. Okay. I can do that. You want to? Okay.
Yeah.
I got you, man.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate everyone for tuning in, and I will see you next week.
And I will see you in 2 weeks with an accent.
Oh my God, I hope so.
Bye, guys.